A new report indicates that the Book of Boba Fett may be even more popular than we thought. Does this indicate that a season 2 is likely? We'll talk about that and more today. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So the Book of Boba Fett Season 1 has concluded. We've all given our takes on whether the show was good or not, but now is an interesting question. Was the show watched, and was it, from, I guess, a hardline financial point of view, successful for Disney? This is, of course, a relevant and important question because it determines the likelihood of there being a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, and probably to a lesser degree, the likelihood that Boba Fett as a character appears frequently in other Disney Plus material. So we've got a few different metrics to analyze this by. Unfortunately, however, in the new world of streaming, it's harder than ever to compare the relative popularity of different TV shows across different streaming services. When it came to cable, there were various methods used, Nielsen boxes, self-surveys, and more, which could get an idea of ratings. But now, not only do you have a bunch of different independent systems, but many of these systems don't actually report on the numbers. Before I get to the new numbers, which I alluded to in the introduction, which really paint the Book of Boba Fett in a somewhat positive light, let's first start with what we do have from Nielsen, because they do periodically actually give us some streaming numbers, although only in a very limited sense. Their last streaming update was for the week of January 31st, 2022 to February 6, 2022, and in that time period, the Book of Boba Fett ranked 8th in total time watched. This is, however, a somewhat misleading number. It actually downplays the success of the Book of Boba Fett because total time watched is based, at least partially, on the total available runtime of the series. So at that point, the Book of Boba Fett had 6 episodes, many of them were only 30 to 40 minutes long, whereas other shows like Ozark also have a back catalog but had fewer newly released episodes, whereas something like Encanto is just one long movie, so it's really hard to judge popularity based off those metrics. That takes us to this new data, which indicates that interest in the Book of Boba Fett still remains exceptionally high. Before we talk about this detail though, even as somebody who's a fan of the Book of Boba Fett and who really wants to see a season 2, we need to have a real talk about methodology and the reliability of data. So we're talking about information here from a company known as Parrot Analytics. Now, I will say they are frequently cited by major, pretty reliable entertainment trades like The Hollywood Reporter, but there is a real question of data reliability. Parrot Analytics doesn't make clear how they get the information that they use to populate these lists. Parrot holds themselves up as this global industry leader when it comes to analytics, but we know very little about how the data is actually collected, how it's analyzed, and basically, in a sense, how the numbers are derived at all. Either way, with that major caveat, Parrot has listed the Book of Boba Fett as having exceptional demand as a breakout series, i.e. a new series, and actually leading the list in terms of demand against other notable entries like Peacemaker, Hawkeye, Vox Machina, and others which are sort of in the similar niche or aimed at a similar group. Again, it's not even clear to me what in demand means. I don't think that's related simply to raw viewing numbers. I think it's probably a combination of raw viewing numbers and the total amount of people who are on the platform. When you look into further insights through Parrot Analytics, and in this case typically reported by other sources like Forbes, pretty consistent demand can be tracked across the entire show's life, but especially at episode 5 and 6 when we saw the Mandalorian tie-in. Now, that is sort of another major issue that we haven't talked about here. To what degree is the Book of Boba Fett's high demand related to the fact that it's tied itself to the Mandalorian, which we know is an absolute juggernaut, one of the biggest streaming shows around? And if you look at this chart, and again, without knowing the reliability of the data, we can see that although the baseline point, unsurprisingly for a show like the Book of Boba Fett, is already 30 to 45 times higher than the average title in the market, that demand skyrockets as we approach the end of the season. Various other sites have also tried to rate the popularity of the Book of Boba Fett specifically within the Disney Plus streaming ecosystem. The site Flix Patrol has it number 2 worldwide. As reported by Deadline, Samba TV noted that the Book of Boba Fett had a 36% higher viewership for its finale than The Mandalorian, although you also have to talk about overall growth in Disney Plus subscribers there. There is an upcoming Disney Plus investors call, and usually we do get some information about how shows did, whether they met expectations or not. We have heard from Tamura Morrison that the show did meet expectations and he was happy with that. I've seen that interview paraded around incorrectly, people saying that the show did just okay ratings wise, but if you watch the interview, that's not what he said. Either way, it does seem like Disney Plus has a genuine hit on their hands with the Book of Boba Fett. I really enjoyed it. Again, I'm going to link to the video that I did a couple of weeks ago asking whether the Book of Boba Fett was a mistake. I think not. I think that the Book of Boba Fett is going to get the prequels approach. It's a show that at times wasn't perfectly made. There was a bit silly. There were some issues. However, it's full of heart. It's full of action. It tells a good Star Wars story. And ultimately, I think that's what's important. Anyway, until next time, guys, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.